Thanks for joining us tonight on What's It Feel Like. This is Laura, and I'm sitting here with my good friend Trish, who is helping us kick off our motherhood series. And we're talking about something pretty serious, but that unfortunately we know so many moms that are going through this right now, and we have Trish here to help us talk about what it feels like to battle cancer while raising kids. So we're going to talk about, getting the diagnosis, the questions you have, telling your kids, sort of the fear of the unknown, raising kids while battling cancer, and what you can tell your friends to do. And then we'll tell you a little bit about our shirts a little bit later, why we're wearing matching shirts. So Trish, thank you so much for joining us. And I'd love for you just to tell us a little bit about your diagnosis, when you learned about it, and what the doctors told you.
So a year ago in February, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. The first diagnosis was actually stage 2, and then I went in for a PET scan, and they found that it was in my liver. So it was, obviously, it had spread. So once we had the updated diagnosis on March 1st, that's kind of when life changed. I mean, it changed when it was stage 2, but when we found out it was in other places, then it really changed the ballgame.
And for those of you that don't know what metastatic cancer means, can you explain that a little bit?
So metastatic means that it left the lymph nodes, and then it is in other places. So it will always be breast cancer, but it was breast cancer in my liver, or it can be breast cancer in your lungs, or breast cancer anywhere. But basically, it means it traveled.
And you are currently in remission.
I'm currently in remission,
which is a huge victory.
I know, right?
There are no cancer spots anywhere in your body.
No. And
we're just going to keep praying that remains that way as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Right. So can you tell us what it felt like to, what were some of the first things that went through your head when the doctors told you that, as a mom and as a wife?
Well, first and foremost, it was fear. My husband and I were just, I think, more shocked than anything. Even though that lump had been there for 9 months. And I just happened to have it checked again. And I remember us just driving home, just kind of like, what just happened? And at the first diagnosis, Mike was like, oh, this is fine, it's stage 2. When it became known that, it was in other places, it was a different feeling. And then I just worried it was everywhere. How did that happen? How did I not know it was in other places? So a lot of it was just pure shock.
Were you scared to be like in your body, and were you like, I need to get to the hospital right now and get them to do anything to get this out of my system?
I really just thought they could do surgery and take it out. I didn't know. I just thought we would show up and they would say, yeah, we're just going to take it out, because you could feel it. I mean, I felt like they could just pull it right out. And that was not the case. That was not the case. It was right before spring break. We had been planning to go to spring training to see the Cardinals. My oncologist wanted to start chemo as soon as possible, and I said, no, we're going on spring break. And she was not happy about that, and she, said to me several times, I really want you to stay. My mom was, everyone was kind of like, maybe you. I was like, no, we're doing this. We're going to Florida. We are going to spring training, and I am doing this before I can't do anything.
And we should mention she's a huge baseball fan. You
don't
just tell Trish we're not doing baseball. No. We're doing baseball.
We did baseball.
Tell me about what that felt like to tell the kids and the fear that came with that.
That was miserable. I remember, and so I think we actually never. So we told them, it was President's Day weekend, because that was a 4-day weekend. So we told them, I want to say that Friday night. They were both pretty devastated. There was a lot of crying. And my husband was just, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It was harder for my son than it was for my daughter. She has friends. Well, she has a friend, I know for sure, that her mom had breast cancer 5 years ago. So she could see the end. She knew that her mom came out of that. Logan does not know that still. Yeah. So it was really, really much harder for him.
Yeah.
He was very shaken by it and just very upset and nervous.
And it's hard to tell your kids and have them say, why you?
Right.
Well, I don't know. It's not fair that it's me, but this is the hand we've been dealt, right?
Exactly.
So we have to figure out as a family how to get through it.
Right.
And speaking about how to get through that, you know, you depend on a lot of people when you're battling cancer. And we as moms are the caretakers. We take care of people. So how hard was that to let go and to put yourself first?
That was super hard. But chemo doesn't give you an opportunity to say no. So after the second treatment is when it started to get bad. And by the end of by June, it was unbearable. I would be in bed for almost 2 weeks. Walking to the bathroom was a chore. My heart rate would go way up. I would just feel like I told my husband at one point, I said, it feels like the earth is pulling me down. So the kids were pretty much, they were taken care of. But if Mike was at work and they weren't doing something, they were kind of on their own, you know. They're old enough, though, so they weren't, we're not talking little kids.
But we're still talking about
But we're talking about,
we're not talking about high school or college kids either.
Exactly.
We're talking about kids in the busiest season of life.
And summer is ours. We've grown up, I'm a teacher, so summer is off. And I count down to summer. We're excited for summer when the pool opens. And that's our thing. So to not have last summer was pretty traumatic.
Because at this age as well that the kids' time with you is fleeting so fast. For you moms out there that have little ones, it's so annoying when people tell you to enjoy it while they're young because you're like, no, I just want them to go to bed. But when they're this age, when they're 5th, 8th grade, it's
so much fun. And they're so much fun.
Time is fleeting, so you really do feel cheated in that sense.
I was cheated, but what's funny is that somebody said to me, I want to say like back in September, your kids had the best summer. They probably did more things this summer because people were taking them places. Right. My sister-in-law took them to Chicago. People were, taking them to swing around in Funtown. Everybody took them everywhere. I hired our babysitter from a couple years ago to just come over 1 day a week. I was like, I need you 1 day a week to take them away on to do my field trip. And she was great. She would pick them up. She would drive them. They would take a friend. But it was a different kind of fun. They were having fun. I would be interested to ask them if they thought it was the best summer because they were having fun at the expense of knowing that mom they had to be away from the house.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Can we talk about the hair and the comments I've heard before? And you're not the first good friend of mine that has battled cancer. Can we talk about the question of well, it's just your hair, it'll grow back. And almost like you have to give people permission to be sad about their entire look changing because of a disease that's robbing it from them.
Yes. And a lot of, so I'm part of an online support group, and a lot of women will tell you it's just hair. I wish they would be a little bit more honest about that because it's very traumatic. My hair fell out the day after Easter. I woke up, I took a shower, and I looked at my husband, I go, today's the day. So I called in, I worked from home, I called my little sister, and I said, it's time. So she came out, and we went to Great Clips or something, Fantastic Sam's, and just had it all cut off, and there was a lot of crying. I already had a wig picked out. That was equally traumatic to do. But my daughter and my mom and I picked out this wig, and we spent probably an afternoon trying one after the other, trying to find one that would look as close to my real hair as possible.
And
it was pretty darn good.
It was good. I can attest. It was good. It was good.
It was very good. So that was a tough day. That was a very tough day.
And it's hard. It's got to be hard to look at yourself. It's not like you're choosing to just get a buzz cut and see what you look like. You're forced to, and you lose your eyebrows. You don't just lose your hair. Your look changes.
Everything changes.
You look sick, and then you have no hair. So
exactly.
I guess my advice on that would be don't tell everybody it's just hair because
it's not just hair.
Right.
It's not just hair. Everything changed.
It's a reminder.
It's a huge reminder, and people say, and I know the intention. My kids never flinched when the wig came off. They were like, why are you wearing your wig? It became kind of the coat as if you're getting ready to leave. If I had my wig on, they'd be like, where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. Then take it off. So it was solace, and the kids just didn't react Even my nieces and nephews, there was like, yeah, there's Aunt Trish, no big deal. But for me, that's totally different. I look in the mirror and I see it, and so I actually don't look in the mirror a lot.
Even now?
Even now. Mm-hmm.
Well, you should. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
What can you tell people? What can you tell other women out there, or sisters, or brothers, or anybody that is, especially a mom, what they can do to help that mom if they're battling cancer? What can they do to help them in any way?
Just do. Nobody asked me, which was great. My one sister took care of the food train, so food would just show up. I would just look on the calendar. Food would be outside the door. People came over and mowed our lawn, which, I mean, I wish they still did, because Mike doesn't want to mow the lawn ever. People came. My mother-in-law dropped off flowers. It was just little things that people did that I didn't ask them to do. That's just what they did.
But what about talking to you about how you're feeling? Do you feel like people were nervous about actually asking you what's going on?
Yeah.
Like they didn't want to bother you or text you, but all you're doing is laying in bed.
But I had a friend who texted me every single day. She still texts me to this day, and she would text me pictures of her kids at church lighting candles. But every single day, she texted me, "How are you today? What do you need today?" She would send me a picture, send me a prayer, something. It was so amazing that she did that, and that she still, does that. I think the weirdest thing is that everybody wants to help you and be part of, I don't know, they want to be part of your life. And then when it's over, a lot of people leave, which is okay. But I would say that it's just really important to be there to listen, because there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of crying. And just take care of everything, because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even make decisions. You can't think through chemo.
You're just trying to survive.
You literally cannot. No.
You're just trying to suck it up and deal with it.
Oh yeah.
Awful.
It was the worst.
What was it you told me about the pain in your bones? You were telling me like the pain.
Oh, that was awful. The doctor, my oncologist said, well, the first week she said, well, you're going to have some pain in your bones.
I remember, weren't you like, that wasn't pain.
So the movie with Kathy Bates, where she is hitting. Okay.
Yeah. Misery.
That's what I thought it was. Like, it was miserable. And so my husband was calling some people, what can we give her for some pain? Mm-hmm. I mean,
like Shirley MacLaine in terms of endearment. Somebody give my wife something.
Yes. People wanted to give me everything from marijuana to Percocet to anything.
Whatever.
But I'll tell you, nothing worked. You had to literally get through it. And I remember telling the oncologist when I went back in, she goes, oh yeah, I told you that was going to happen. I said, what?
Well, you didn't.
I said, nobody tells you what that feels like.
Because I guess it would scare you if they did.
Oh,
they really told you how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to wrap this up here, but I would love to hear you comment on two things. How do you live with the fear of it coming back while you're raising these kids? What kind of thoughts comes through your mind? Because we as mothers think first of our kids. So how do you push through the fear?
Well, so at one point we were told, the best I would have would be to see my kids graduate. That was prior to the, responding to chemo. I still have that in the back of my mind. When your head hurts, when your bones hurt, anything hurts, that's where your mind goes. So in the middle of the night, if anything hurts, is it there? Is it back? So I just had a clean scan a couple weeks ago, which was wonderful. And so everyone's, oh, that's so exciting. I'm like, it is. And I am happy, but I'm still scared. I'm like, okay, I got another 6 to 8 months before my next scan. And we just hope that the medicine is doing what it's supposed to do. So it's very scary. I think the kids, it doesn't faze Celia as much as it does Logan.
How about your perspective? What can you share about your new perspective? things that didn't matter, that mattered before that maybe don't now, or how you look at life?
I just want to do what I want to do and not have to explain to people why I want to do it. And it's a really silly example. My husband, Celia, has 8th grade graduation coming up, whatever it is. I gave up the tickets to go see the women's soccer game to go, and he kept going, why? I just told you could go see the soccer game. And I said, I lost last summer. I will do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. Right. And so I feel like that's kind of where my perspective is. It's not in a bad way, but if I'm going to do something, I'm just going to do it. And I don't want anyone to ask me questions about it.
Yeah, I understand that. And what other advice would you give women out there that are battling and trying to raise their kids at the same time?
That they have to accept the help. That was the hardest thing for us. And Mike didn't want to do it. We don't ever want to impose. So you have to accept it or else you don't get through it because it's too much. And the kids need that. They need to be gone. They need to have as much normalcy as possible.
And we should mention that Trish is a huge baseball fan. And so these shirts, tell us about the Jason Mott Foundation and why that means a lot to you.
So last year we went to the cornhole tournament that Jason Mott sponsors every year.
And Jason Mott is?
Former Cardinal baseball player. And he partners with Colton Wong, also Cardinal baseball player. They have a cornhole tournament. Long story short, we were talking to Jason Mott, trying to get, how did you start this foundation? He gave us the backstory about his wife's dad. So, Cardinal baseball, helping cancer, it wasn't pink.
Yeah, it wasn't pink.
And I'm not the pink person. All of those fell in, and I just thought that was the perfect match for me. So this past weekend, my friends and I from work did a spring pop-up shop. We had lots of vendors, and all of the money that we earned from the vendors and the raffle and the sale of these t-shirts. Mm-hmm. So these shirts, every $5 goes to the Jason Mott Foundation.
And it's like a flag with a baseball on it. If somebody wants to get one, what do they do?
We'll have to put the link up later.
We'll put the link up later in the comments under this Facebook Live.
Yes, because it would be through Gray House Goods, which is a coworker's wife who has a business, and she works.
So if you guys like these, we'll put these up on the link in case you want to buy one. It supports the Surround Foundation, which is there to help people with cancer.
Yes.
And so we hope that this live has helped some of you out there. Remember to just do. Don't ask. Don't say, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know.
Right.
You don't have time to let people know.
No.
You need people just to show up and do.
Exactly.
Text your loved one. Be present. It's okay to ask them how they're feeling. It's okay to call them and leave them a message. And you're not like we can still love you and touch you and be there for you and ask you how you're doing. And
I think we want anybody who has an illness, I think, wants people to ask them how they're doing today.
It's all you're thinking about.
Because if you don't, then you just kind of feel like you're isolated and everyone has forgotten about you, even though you know they didn't.
Yeah.
So I think if you're scared to talk to them, they want you to talk to them.
Yeah, it's kind of the elephant in the room. Like, I'm battling cancer. It's okay to ask me how I'm feeling.
Exactly.
Most people feel like, well, I don't want to. They probably know that everyone's asking them all the time, but that's all your reality is cancer.
That's it. That's life.
So that's all you're going through. So don't be afraid to ask. And I'm pretty proud of us for getting through this without crying. Because when she walked in before we sat down, I already started to get a little choked up.
We did it.
One of our baseball moms says she's in awe of you, Trish. Thank you for giving us this peek into what you are. See, I can't read it.
Yeah.
Okay, Michelle, love you. She said clean scans forever.
Yes.
Baseball's family. I'll tell you, if you know any baseball families out there and you sit there on the weekends, whoo!
We get to know each other.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. We're going to have a lot more coming up on our motherhood series. We know we got kind of deep on the first one, but unfortunately a lot of us moms out there are dealing with this, and we need to be lifting each other up and supporting each other. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Clean scans.
Yay,
love you.
Forever.
Thanks for watching.